Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hi, it's me, Ebony, and today we're going to be talking about phobias, anxiety and OCD. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor. All this information is coming from a course that I did accredited by the University of Cambridge. I'll leave it in the description below if you would like to complete the course yourself. It's a 5-week course, takes about an hour or two each week to complete. So today we're going to be talking about what anxiety is, what a phobia is, what fear of failure is, social anxiety, OCD and symptoms, causes and ways to sort of combat that as well. Before we start, if the lighting is really bad, it's because it's getting darker because, you know, it's closer to winter and all that, and I rely on the window for like natural light, so if it gets a bit darker, that's why. It's really cloudy today. What is anxiety? Anxiety is an intense feeling of fear or being anxious that in an evolutionary sense is actually really helpful to us as human beings, as it protects us from danger. However, when anxiety causes fear for no reason, this is when it becomes a problem or a disorder. So people can be anxious about different things. People can be anxious about crowds, they can be anxious about people, they can be anxious about events like tests and exams and things like that. You can be anxious about pretty much anything. It's kind of like an intense feeling of worry, but everybody has a normal level of anxiety. Anxiety only becomes a disorder when it's a problem and it inhibits your daily life. What is a phobia? A phobia is an unnecessary fear of a situation or a thing. So 10% of young people have one or more of the following phobias. Small confined spaces, large open spaces, flying, blood and needles, dogs, spiders, snakes, and thunder and lightning as well. Symptoms that you have a phobia is when you think of or encounter this thing in any way, whether it's seeing it, like if it's a spider, it could be like a picture or like a television screen of a spider or an actual spider. It could be anything. It could even be the thought of a spider. This will cause trembling, sweating, dizziness, nausea and a panic attack as well. All these things are pretty normal responses to phobias, and the reason that phobias are included in this anxiety cloud is because they're a fear that causes problems in daily life. So it's like a branch of anxiety. So what causes a phobia? We don't really know. But phobias often come from traumatic events or even thoughts from infancy. Children usually have phobias about certain animals or certain situations and like little things because they're children. But these things can develop and continue into adulthood, and that's when it can become a problem. So how do we treat phobias? Most of the time you grow out of your phobias as you become older. So if you have a phobia when you're an infant or when you reach adolescence, usually that phobia will fade, it will go away. But in some circumstances it doesn't, and this is when we sort of need to treat it. So most phobias don't need to be treated. So if this doesn't happen, there are certain treatments for phobias that include getting increasingly familiar or close to the thing that you have a phobia of. So for example, if you did have a phobia of spiders, which is called arachnophobia, I would slowly bring out a picture of a spider, and then maybe a moving image of a spider, and then maybe a video of a spider, and then maybe an actual spider. And your body will get used to the level of anxiety. They will sort of think, hey, wait, we're anxious about this thing that has not hurt us yet, and there is no need to be afraid of this thing. And that will help you get over the phobia. So another little branch of anxiety is something called fear of failure, a really common thing that triggers anxiety. Some teenagers, adolescents, adults, any people, but mainly young people, are so afraid of failing that it actually inhibits their daily life. 1 out of 10 teenagers feel this way, so it's really, really common. So symptoms of fear of failure include having to perform makes you feel sick. So having to do a test makes you physically feel ill. Before the performance, you have stomach aches, bowel movements like digestive issues, and also sleep problems. Trembling, sweating, a fast heart rate, you can feel like your heart beating, red spots and a dry mouth, and this can be before or during the performance. Performing less than you are capable of, and avoiding performing even if it affects you in ways you would not like it to. So for example, not going to an exam even though you need to sit it. So what is social anxiety then? Because this comes under fear of failure. Social anxiety is a severe form of fear of failure. This includes feeling like you will be judged and watched by others. This is also extreme when you're in school and you have to do like tests regularly and things like that. Social anxiety may begin to anyone can get social anxiety. And the thought of interacting with others actually makes you afraid. So how to help fear of failure then? Practice doing that one thing over and over and over again, and get used to the feeling that sometimes will be better than others. Don't demand too much from yourself. Everybody performs differently. If you're nervous, say it to other people, and those people are more likely to relate to you and share that experience than not. Avoid too much stress by taking breaks and preparing for the performance, or preparing for practicing for the performance. One way to help any form of anxiety, whether it's social anxiety, fear of failure, phobia, or just main anxiety where you feel really anxious, you can do breathing exercises. Sit in a quiet room, breathe slow, and when you notice that your chest is expanding, expand your belly too by pushing it out, This will turn chest breathing into belly breathing, which is a lot more relaxing and will calm you down. This will help when stress is high and breathing is fast. If the breathing slows down, the stress as well will slow down. Okay, so what is OCD? OCD is an abbreviation for obsessive compulsive disorder, and it is forcing yourself to do or obsessing over a certain and it is forcing yourself or obsessing over something because you have a strong feeling that not doing that one thing will result in something bad. Even if you notice that this is an irrational thought, you still have the urge to do it, and this urge is called a compulsion. So about 1 in 30 adults have OCD, but it is quite rare in young people under the age of 18. So what causes OCD then? This is a combination of what kind of person you are and your environment. If you're the type of person to hold yourself at like a really high standard, you're more likely to get OCD. If you're in a stressful situation, you are more likely to develop OCD as it's a way to like regain control. So what are obsessions in relation to OCD? In addition to compulsions, people with OCD may get obsessions as well. These can be thoughts they believe they should not think, or even incriminating thoughts like thoughts of murder. People with OCD cannot change their behaviour, even if it's a problem for them, like being late all the time or something along those lines. So how do you treat OCD? OCD is very hard to treat, as most people with OCD follow their compulsions, which lead to habits. This is because following their compulsions leads to a decreased amount of anxiety over a short period of time. So what causes OCD then? It's hard to say what OCD is caused by, because you have to have a balance within exposure to stress when you're a child. So children that have been exposed to too much stress have been known to be more likely to develop OCD, but children that have not been exposed to any stress are also more likely to develop OCD. So it's kind of like a spectrum. Okay guys, that is all for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and learnt something new. I know I didn't incorporate a statistics sort of thing today, but there were statistics intertwined with all the information I gave you. If you think you have a phobia, social anxiety, fear of failure, just plain generalized anxiety, or OCD, then I will link a few help numbers, websites, things like that down below. And I hope you guys stay safe, and I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.